Hey, friend, if your book sales are feeling a little cold, it may not be the story itself, but the packaging. We're going to talk about that today, and I want to sort of introduce how you can improve the storefronts for your book, meaning your book cover and other places where it's found, how you can improve those storefronts for better sales. See, the thing is, it's not about what's inside the book so much as what the readers see before they open it. That's what determines if they will actually pick up your book or if they will hit that buy button on Amazon and purchase your book. So let's talk about today. So earlier this year, it's February now. So at actually the very first week in 2026, my family was down in the Canary Islands. Now, that sounds very exotic to you maybe, but Canary Islands, for those of us who live in Norway, I'm an American living in Norway. The Canary Islands is a popular destination spot for Norwegians. In fact, it's almost like a second home for many families here. So we were down there for the very first week of 2026. And if you're not familiar with the Canary Islands, and especially this little beach town where we were called Puerto Rico, there's some really nice shops and some not so nice shops, you might say. So one day I was sitting next to my wife on a park bench, and the kids were, I think, just kind of playing around a water fountain or something. And we noticed this shop, and the shop really stood out. It was actually a gelato shop. And the reason it really stood out was because of how clean it was. In fact, the employees, I believe they were just opening and they were in the process of scrubbing and cleaning the windows. They had just recently actually rinsed and washed the pavement around the building and the outdoor seating area and all of that. So they were making it really look very clean and appealing. And the thing is, right down the street, there are several ice cream shops that are not so appealing. They're really run down and just, it's not a place where you would want to go buy ice cream. The thing is, they probably sell a lot of ice cream because it's closer to the beach and the ice cream itself looks okay, but the shop doesn't appeal. And in fact, I have a family member who said that they actually got sick from eating the ice cream from one of these other shops. But this gelato shop was a different picture altogether. It looked like they had good quality gelato, and the shop was just spick and span, you could say. So which place would you rather shop from? And as you think about that, now think about your own book. Maybe you are a first-time author and you just released a book and it's just not selling. And I see that so often. And I want to just encourage you that it's not the book itself. It's not the story you've written or the book you published as much as it is how you are presenting the book. Okay, so we're going to talk about some different storefronts that you have and why you should think about how those storefronts appeal to your bullseye audience. First of all, you have your book cover, which is the most important. And then you have your Amazon listing and the photos, the images that you show, the description that you give of the book, all those things. You also have places like social media, and maybe if you've already started an email list, the different emails that you send out to your audience, your email list, as well as your website. Do you have a website that's put in place already, and how does that look? How does it appeal to your target audience? And then also, once you start selling your book, once you start going and having events like maybe it's author visits in schools, or it's vendor booths at festivals, or whatever it may be, book festivals, book fairs, whatever it could be, you have to think about what your space and your presentation looks like. But why is this even so important? That's what I want to talk to you today. And so let's just dive into that. Most authors focus on the story and they neglect the storefronts. They neglect how it appeals from the outside, the packaging of your story. So number one, why this is important is it shows pride and ownership. When you wash the windows, you're basically saying that I care about this. I think about when I had my very first car. It was an 86 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, bright red. I loved that car. It was a piece of junk. It was awful, but I loved it. It was my first car and it was cool. And it feels like I washed and waxed that car just about every weekend. I just loved it. And it's because I cared for it that I washed it so often. And it's the same with this gelato shop. They take care of it, they clean it, they make it shine because they care about it. What about your book? What about your storefronts? Do you care about it enough to clean it up and make it look nice? So think about the author who rushes through writing their book description for Amazon, so to speak. For example, maybe they write one paragraph and it's just a description of the book. And then you have another author who thinks methodically about the message in their book. They think about their target audience and the language, how to express that message in a way that grabs the audience's attention and makes them want more. You see the difference? If you show that you care about your book, it will reflect how the audience cares about your book. They will experience and see your care, and they will care as well. It's even more so about self-respect than it is about marketing. Do you respect yourself as an author? Do you respect your books enough and your storefronts enough to give it a high quality appeal? Before we get into number 2, I just want to say the sponsor of this video is actually my brand new book, The Indie Author That Could. And it is a book that helps first-time children's book authors learn how to self-publish books with clarity, confidence, and unstoppable success. I really feel like this is a book that's going to help a lot of first-time indie authors. And if that's you, if you're an author and you're struggling for sales, or maybe you have written a manuscript and you just don't know what to do with it, you don't know what's next, this is the book for you. It goes through the whole process of self-publishing. It gives you step-by-step what to do and how to build your own publishing team. Yes, you need a team. You can't do it all on your own, and they are there to help you. This book is for you, The Indie Author That Could. You can find it at indieauthorbook.com. And as I'm filming this, it's the last week of the Kickstarter campaign. But if you find this video later, you can still go to indieauthorbook.com and reserve your copy, and I'll be sure to get it to you. So please consider reserving a copy of the book. I really believe it's going to help you. Go to number 2 for why you should improve or take care of your storefronts. It speaks to quality, and it'll separate you from the competition. Now, I really don't like the word competition when it comes to self-publishing, because yes, there is competition. You're comparing your book against other books. There's a lot of books. There's millions of books out there on Amazon and other bookstores in different places. However, it doesn't always mean that the author is going to buy one book and not the other. Like if they're similar books, if they're about the same topic, they will likely buy both books, actually, as long as they are appealing, as long as they look nice and look like they will provide the material or the entertainment that they need, right? So I don't like to think of it as competition. However, if you want to think in the form of competition, then here's the thing to think about. If you have a clear, clean storefront, it gives the assumption of a quality product. But if you have a dirty storefront like those ice cream shops, then it gives the assumption of a not so good product. So what do I mean by all this? Let's think in the terms of a book, right? If I have 2 different books, and let's say these books are about monkeys. It's a children's book about monkeys. And one is beautifully illustrated. I can tell that they put a whole lot of thought into the process of publishing this book. It has a nice dust jacket. It's a hardcover book, and it's a nice size, and it has the foil, and the illustrations are unique and interesting, and the title grabs my attention. And then the other one has just a boring title. The illustrations are subpar at best. They are, stock imagery, maybe, in today's age, they're AI generated images, or one image on the cover, this AI generated. It's poorly printed. You can tell that they just didn't put a whole lot of effort into the book. They didn't invest in their book. Which one would you choose? Of course, we would choose the better looking book. So in terms of competition, you want your book to appeal visually to your customers and to your readers. So many, many times, indie authors, they neglect their storefront. They forget the importance of grabbing the buyer's attention. They just think, well, I'm just going to save money. I'm going to get this. And yeah, I don't really care what it looks like. It has a nice story. But if they don't actually open the book and look inside or even purchase the book on Amazon, they're never going to read your story. It's so important to have a nice storefront. Whether it's fair or not, we do judge books by their cover. And it's so important to have a great cover that is attractive and appealing to your target audience. And this goes for not only your cover, but your Amazon listing. Do you have A+ content? Have you thought about the description and all that, as well as your booth setup? You need to set the standard of quality higher than just your average Joe out there. So think about how your book appeals to the buyer. And number 3, why you should do this, why you should even consider your storefronts, is that it builds trust and shows respect for your audience. A professional presentation says, you are worth my best effort. You see, it's not just about you as the author, it's about your buyer. It's about providing them something of value. You're not just trying to sell a book, you're trying to provide value. And if you have a poor quality cover or a poorly designed and laid out website with terrible information, or you haven't really put a whole lot of thought into your listing description, your book description on Amazon, or your vendor booth is just really sloppy and it doesn't really make sense, you're not really showing your buyer that you value them enough to provide something of good quality. The buyer, the possible reader, is going to have that same thought. They're going to say, can I really trust this author? Can I trust this book to even be entertaining or valuable for me at all? Showing up well is a form of respect. It says you value them. It's the trust that turns browsers into buyers. So you need to establish trust by providing good quality storefronts. So we've gone through the 3 different whys of why you should have a nice, appealing storefront. What are those storefronts? I mentioned them earlier, but we're looking at your Amazon listing, we're looking at your book's cover, your website, your emails that you send out to your email list, your social media networks, and your vendor tables, and even your author visits. Are they presentable? Is it a nicely designed presentation? And I'm not talking about the slides. I'm talking about the whole presentation. Is it attractive? Is it appealing to the reader, being the kids sitting in front of you if you're a children's book author? So think about those storefronts, and I want you to pick one. Pick one storefront that you say, try to sell. I think I need to work on that storefront. Maybe it's your book cover, and maybe that's just why you're not selling any books at all. And I'm sorry that that's happening, but I want you to know that it can be fixed. You can fix your storefronts, and you can start selling more books if that's the issue. Is it your book cover, or maybe is it your website? I'll be quite frank with you. I know I need to improve my author website. I have two different websites. launchmissioncreative.com is my business as a book designer and an author coach, and I'm happy with that website. But my author website, travisdpeterson.com, needs some work. It's a little behind, and I've kind of neglected it a bit. Have you neglected your website? If you've had it up for a while, have you neglected it? Do you need to return and maybe redesign or think about the messaging in your website and how you can attract more browsers to that website? What about your social media profiles? Are you staying consistent? Are you posting appealing memes or images or stories about yourself as an author and about the journey you've gone on in publishing? And again, your vendor tables. Maybe you want to get into having a booth at different festivals. How can you make those booths more attractive to your audience? So just pick one and ask yourself, does this show pride? Does it show that I care about my books and about my business as an author? Does it speak to the quality? Does it show that I have a higher standard for my books? And does it build trust? Are your readers or your potential buyers going to trust you enough to provide a valuable book if they're looking at your storefronts? So think about those things. Let me know in the comments which one you need to work on now, which storefront you need to work on. And just remember to ask yourself, if I didn't know myself, would I trust myself as an author just looking at my books and looking at my website, those things? It's a good question to have. That's one I need to consider as well. So just think of one way that you can make an improvement on one of your storefronts, and let me know in the comments which one you will be working on. I want you to remember, you're not competing with every author. You're actually, if I would say you're competing against anyone, you're competing against the ones with clean storefronts. You're not competing against the ones with AI covers. Sorry, they're not going to provide any sort of competition. You're not competing with the ones that look like they've been laid out in Word or something. You're competing against the ones that have nice, appealing covers. And that's it. So yeah, leave a comment below. And please go to indieauthorbook.com. If the Kickstarter is still running, it'll take you directly to the Kickstarter. Please support my book on Kickstarter. I would love to reach 100%. I'm far from it right now, but I do believe this book is going to help many, many authors. And even if I don't reach the Kickstarter, the book is still going to print. I will still make it available. So please go to indieauthorbook.com today and reserve your copy.